Things are not looking good for President Donald Trump's re-election chances. Joe Biden is inching forward, and it does seem like he is moments away from being declared the victor. Now, we still do not have an official call, and there is still a possibility that Donald Trump can win, but it is seeming very slim. Democrats are already basically declaring victory. Many pundits, even conservative ones, are starting to say it looks like Donald Trump is out. And you know what? If he is, well, then congrats to Joe Biden. For the most part, we're seeing a more tame response from conservatives saying we want to make sure every legal vote gets counted and illegal votes are not. So there very likely will be audits and some kind of legal action. Donald Trump still does have a path to victory, but it's looking like the vote is not in his favor. However, somehow, I don't ask me how. In 2016, we got endless videos of the left freaking out, crying, having temper tantrums, rioting. And many people thought that if Donald Trump won, we'd get the same thing. Yet somehow, even though we are seeing every reason to believe Donald Trump is going to lose, they're still freaking out. In a post-election family meeting, one Democrat started crying on the phone call, having lost her House seat. Moderate Democrats are freaking out, yelling at the far left, saying, "You cost us these House seats." I think this election was a repudiation of the culture war. I think many people were saying, we don't want your far left garbage, and we don't like Donald Trump's attitude. So they elected Republican House candidates. They voted for Republican senators. It looks like Republicans are on track to keep the Senate. And they said, of the far left, we don't want you. And they said of Donald Trump as well. Now, Donald Trump did make tremendous gains in many of these places where House candidates, Republican candidates, defeated their Democrat rivals. Trump actually did very well. So it's not so easy to say exactly what happened. But I do believe a lot of people went out and voted against Trump because of Trump's character. With that being said, there is still a good reason why Donald Trump shouldn't just concede outright. They're saying they have evidence of voter fraud in Nevada because they cross-referenced change of address, files and people who voted in the state. If they've got evidence, it needs to be brought forward. Listen, I endured years of Russiagate and Ukrainegate. I reported on it fairly. I said, let's see what the evidence brings us. I can at least, and so can you, give a few months to make sure that whatever ends up happening, we have a clean transition of power and everyone respects the results. Trump supporters, for the most part, are likely going to be disappointed. Some may be angry. But for some reason, the left is still rioting. Surprise, surprise. In Portland, the governor finally calls in the National Guard to deal with the rioters. But maybe this is the end of some kind of culture war Trump era, or maybe it's just the beginning and whatever Trump is will carry on. You see, the Lincoln Project and many conservatives, never Trumpers, I guess, are saying now begins the era of Trumpism. Yes, we're starting to see signs of what's to come. And I just, it's hilarious. It'll never end, will it? You thought, Biden voters, you could vote away Donald Trump. No, nay, I say. They've already decided that Donald Trump will be immortalized in the idea of Trumpism, which I have no idea what that is. But that's the big threat. The Lincoln Project is already ramping up. So, my friends, I bring you now into the world of chaos that is our political reality. Whether Trump stays or goes is irrelevant. You cannot escape. For things have only just begun, my friends. The roller coaster still has many more loops before you can get off, if you can. I bring you the first story about Democrats breaking down and crying on the phone as a meeting descends into chaos. But before we get started, head over to timcast.com/donate if you would like to support my work. There are many ways you can give. There's a P.O. box if you want to send me stuff. But the best thing you can do is share this video. If you really want to support my work, and you think what I'm saying and presenting to you is rational and reasonable, and you think I do a good job, sharing is the best way to actually help. Seriously, I know I say it all the time, but I really mean it. If you just copy the link, click share, whatever, it seriously helps. And if everybody did it, why, I'd be bigger than the mainstream media. But maybe I don't deserve your shares. At the very least, you can like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. And let's read about, from the Hill, Democrats' post-election family meeting descends into chaos. Moderate House Democrats lashed out at their liberal colleagues Thursday, using a marathon caucus-wide conference call to bash progressives for advancing an agenda that the centrists said cost the party a number of seats in Tuesday's election. An impassioned Abigail Spanberger, who squeaked to victory in Central Virginia, took liberals to task for promoting the policy of redirecting funds away from the police departments, an idea that took off following the death of George Floyd in May, and that Republicans used on the campaign trail to hammer Democrats with charges of nurturing crime. Let me just stop you right there. The last election I voted in was Obama, Democrat. And before that was Chicago Democrats. And I don't care to vote anymore, but I'm an independent left-leaning individual. I voted for the Republicans this time, and you are correct, Abigail, because of the insanity of the far left, notably the riots. Now I'm a gun owner, and I don't want Joe Biden or anyone taking them away from me because I've seen what happens when you guys are given the reins of power. So you've made a lot of people convert to the right, and you've made a lot of people question the integrity and the ability of the Democratic Party. But they're correct. Perhaps we will now see the far left get kicked to the curb as well. I do disagree, Abigail, that it was a failure. Speaker Nancy Pelosi interjected. We won the House. Really? You lost how many seats? 8 seats got flipped, but it's a net gain of 5 for the Republicans. Rep. Mark Vesey, a Democrat of Texas, delivered a similar condemnation, lamenting that the far left's approach to several issues, including moving funds away from the police and banning fracking, had given ammunition to GOP attack ads. Vesey said he watched GOP commercial after commercial using video footage of Democrats uttering the words defund the police to great effect. Liberals immediately pushed back on the moderates' narrative. These people are not liberals. Stop. I'm a liberal. I've always been a liberal. I am not a far leftist. And thank you to the far leftists who mockingly deride me as a liberal. Tim's a dumb, spineless liberal. Thank you. Hate me, but hate me for what I am. These people are not liberals. They're progressives and far leftists. Anyway, Progressive Caucus co-chair Pramila Jayapal jumped into the fray and argued that Democrats would not be on the cusp of ousting President Trump from the White House without tremendous energy from the far left. I'm not entirely convinced. We'll see. Caucus Chairman Hakeem Jeffries and others repeatedly warned colleagues not to leak information from the post-election private family meeting to reporters, but that didn't stop them from sharing the blow-by-blow details of the marathon 2.5-hour call with The Hill and other media outlets. The clash between the ideological wings of the caucus reflects the high levels of frustration among Democrats of all stripes following a demoralizing turn at the polls on Tuesday. Heading into the elections, party leaders had predicted they would pick up seats, even in deep red districts won soundly by Trump in 2016. Instead, they saw Republicans knock off at least 7 Democratic incumbents. It's 8 now. Most of them first-term lawmakers who had helped deliver in the party's House majority just 2 years ago. And as of Thursday afternoon, they'd failed to flip even a single seat held by a Republican incumbent, a trend that defied both their internal polls and most conservative expectations. At one point on the call, Rep. Debbie Muckersole Powell, who lost re-election, cried, and lamented that no one could pronounce her name. I'm so sorry. I'm laughing at myself. Muckersole. I failed to pronounce her name, and then they literally said she lamented that no one could pronounce her name. Now I feel really bad. Man, that's brutal. Yikes. House Democratic leaders rocked by the results said on Thursday's call they want a post-mortem review of the election strategy that led them astray. Rep. Sherry Bustos of Illinois, head of the party's campaign arm who narrowly won re-election, said she was frustrated by bad polling and the loss of good members. But she defended the Democrats' message and tactics, noting that the House remains securely in the party's hands heading into the next Congress. We protected the lone firewall in our democracy, Bustos said. According to sources on the call, we'll be holding a more in-depth political brief once we have more clarity on the final results of the election. Pelosi acknowledged a challenging election, a long departure from the optimistic tone she'd carried Tuesday morning, but also claimed victory in keeping control of the lower chamber and perhaps winning the White House. You know what? Trump may lose. It's close. We are very, very close to Trump being defeated. I know there's a lot of Trump supporters and Republicans saying investigate the impropriety. There's evidence of fraud. By all means, I agree. Investigate all of these things. I want to make sure the next 4 years will not be nearly as bad as the last. I've lived through a Joe Biden administration, a Barack Obama Biden administration, so I'm not going to cry about it. But I just got to say something. This lady, I feel bad. She's crying. I'm not. But how is it that I'm sitting here pending a Trump defeat? I'm laughing with my friends about the absurdity of what's going on. And I'm seeing this lady cry on the phone. How are they crying and rioting when they won the House? Okay. And they're nearing victory in the White House. They're still freaking out and crying. You know what? I look forward to something. I remember during the Obama administration, every time something would happen, and I'd be waving the cards in front of my friends, and they'd be like, I don't know, man, I don't know anything about it. Well, now they all adamantly rose to action and said, we must defeat Donald Trump. And they may. And you know what? The one thing I'm really looking forward to with the Joe Biden presidency is that all of the warmongering, imperialistic authoritarianism, I'm now going to wave in their face and say, this is what you voted for. The problems with Trump were individual problems. He was a bad guy. He was boorish. He had character defects, but we had a great economy. He was signing peace agreements. He was withdrawing our troops. You know what? I'm not the arbiter of grand morality, nor am I the dictator of this country, and I can accept defeat very easily. I shrug and say, listen, man, I've always been a milquetoast fence sitter because I don't have high expectations. I've seen how the machine operates. I wouldn't be surprised if there was impropriety and fraud. In fact, we've got one story where apparently some guy was declared a loser, a Republican was declared a loser, and then a computer glitch was announced and he actually won. If that's the case, we are going to see a heavy audit. I think it's looking like a Donald Trump defeat, at least in the polls. But as I mentioned in my previous segment, lawfare is a possibility. Now, Trump may get clean legal victories for sure. I think there's a path to victory for Trump in using the legal system and potentially invalidating illegal ballots should they have evidence that these ballots are in fact illegal. It might happen. Democrats, you should watch yourselves. There are a lot of videos circulating. And if you think it's over, you would be wrong. But of course, there are Democrats crying. There are people freaking out. And there are riots still happening. Well, Donald Trump issued a statement. We believe the American people deserve to have full transparency into all vote counting and election certification. And that this is no longer about any single election. This is about the integrity of our entire election process from the beginning. We have said that all legal ballots must be counted and all illegal ballots should not be counted. Yet we have met resistance to this basic principle by Democrats at every turn. We will pursue this process through every aspect of the law to guarantee that the American people have confidence in our government. I will never give up fighting for you and our nation. I'm going to be honest with you guys. It sounds like Trump is getting ready for a wind down. I know many people might not want to believe it, but I'm not interested in entertaining people's emotions on what's happening. Trump now saying it's about every election and saying, I will not give up fighting for you and our nation, sounds like he recognizes, he understands what's about to happen. Even with the legal tactics, it's not looking good for him. I don't believe Trump will outright concede for the time being. We'll see what happens. But it looks like they're prepared to take the loss. Now, I know the Democrats are saying, lock Trump up, arrest him, send him to the prison, whatever. I really don't see that happening either. I don't. It didn't happen with Hillary Clinton. It's not going to happen with Trump. This is politics. I don't know exactly how it will play out. But although I can tell you, it looks like Trump is starting to draw things down, which is why it's funny the Democrats are crying on the phone and freaking out and fighting with each other. We have this story. This is from the Detroit Free Press. Okay, Detroit is what got Joe Biden victory in Michigan. A computer glitch turns losing Republican into a winner in Oakland County. That's it. That's the news. Turns out the guy they reported he lost. And he thought to himself, I thought that was that. Those are the results. And I said, I would not seek a recount. This guy actually won. And he said, I was not going to seek a recount. He was ready to walk away. They called him and said, actually, brother, you won by over 1,000 votes in a local election. That is substantive. And he was ready to walk away. That's why Donald Trump shouldn't just walk away. The victory must be clean. Now, I suppose if Trump walked away, it would be easier on everybody, but that would not satisfy Trump's supporters. And I tell you what, we are getting ready for the next era in whatever is supposed to happen. You know, I had someone comment on my Facebook, you think you're going to ride the Trump train for 4 more years? Trump is gone. And I'm like, apparently I was riding the Trump train for 5 years before Trump even got elected. So sure, these people don't seem to realize I've been doing this job for a long time. The funniest thing is they're like, what are you even going to talk about now if like Trump loses? I was talking about Sonic the Hedgehog in January, dude. This is not over. The culture war, politics, it's going to keep happening. And the left and the never Trumpers have already found a way to dig in their heels. Listen, for me, I wasn't a diehard Trump supporter in 2016. And I've only passively been supportive of Trump recently with the peace agreements and the withdrawal from the Middle East, with the withdrawal of our troops in the Middle East or the drawing down. I've never gone out with a MAGA hat or waved Trump flags or went in parades or done any of that. I've been invited to a bunch of events and I turned them all down. I voted for Trump because there were things I thought he was doing better than Joe Biden. If Joe Biden wins, I'll laugh and say, welcome to the authoritarian presidency. Once again, we've seen it before. But there are grifters like the Lincoln Project. OK, Trump loses. And I don't want to go that far. Trump is on the verge of losing and they're already saying we must defeat Trumpism. What is Trumpism? Well, we have to come up with something in order to get money from Democrats. Congratulations. The Lincoln Project, which is supposed to be about Republican values, Honest Abe, Abraham Lincoln, the first Republican, which was supposed to just defeat Donald Trump and restore conservative values, is continuing the fight against conservatives. How stupid is everything? Check this out. This is from Andrew Sullivan. Trump is gone. Trumpism has just arrived. And I think I have the tweet right here. Oh, I'm sorry. This is not the correct tweet. I think I have it. Where is it at? Here we go. The Lincoln Project. We're staying in the fight to defeat Trumpism. We must also defeat David Perdue. Let's elect John Ossoff. What? The Lincoln Project is now campaigning against state level state Republicans. It's a federal level senator. I want to be clear, but I'm saying they were supposed to be going after Donald Trump. Why are they going after other Republicans now? Well, because all Republicans are Trump now. You know what, man? The grift was obvious from the get-go. You never actually cared. You were just grifting. And I'll tell you what. I fully expect, as I've said all the time, to have a bunch of Trump supporters now say things about me like, oh, no, Tim turned his back. I had someone tweet at me, turning your back on Trump already, Tim? Listen, the Republicans and the Trump supporters were right about so much. The media's lies, the Democratic establishment, the never Trumpers, they're still correct about it. But there are a lot of people that think I'm going to drop to my knees and say, I will do anything for Trump. Not going to happen. If it looks like Donald Trump is going to lose, I'm going to say it. I believe he still has some legal areas where he needs to make sure he doesn't just concede, but I'm not going to cry about it. If Joe Biden wins, well, you know what? I think Trump has some of his own faults to blame. I do. Listen, if you think they cheated and you've been talking about it for a year, what am I supposed to do if you knew what they were doing and didn't do enough to stop it? I don't like cheating, but I'll say this. Get the evidence out there. I fully will respect your right to do so. Take it to the courts and let's see what ends up happening. But Trump supporters who are upset need to realize something very important. Trump did so much for conservatives in just 4 years, over 200 federal judges and 3 Supreme Court justices. I think y'all need to realize that your victory, the Trump era victories, were way more than I think you should have expected. Trump really came in and delivered tremendously. And because of this, the Democrats went nuts and fired back. I think in 4 years, we might see a rebound into another populist wave. Look, if there is a Republican populist candidate with the policies of Donald Trump, but who isn't the kind of reality TV boorish character, landslide victory. I wouldn't be surprised if we end up getting a populist wave in 2024. I'm not convinced it'll be from the left, however. I think we need a moderate populist. Donald Trump was, for the most part. But Trump was an imperfect avatar for the rage of the American people who watched their manufacturing base erode, who watched the international free trade agreements take away their jobs, and saw their small towns be slowly eroded by a loss of, infrastructure and industry. Trump was imperfect, but he was the best thing that they had. And Trump gave them tremendous victories over 4 years. The way I see it is, if you're a Trump supporter, you should be laughing that you were able to get Trump in for and get these judges in. You got to understand, these Supreme Court justices Trump brought in, 3 Supreme Court justices are going to solidify a lot of that victory for generations to come. Democrats are mad about it. A Joe Biden presidency isn't going to be good, in my opinion, because I've lived through a Joe Biden vice presidency, and I think it was quite nightmarish in many ways. But if there's a Republican Senate, it sounds like Republicans still win. Think about it. Trump gets in, gets all these victories. The Republicans keep the Senate, make gains in the House. Democrats are crying, and Joe Biden can't do anything. It's not a perfect situation for Trump supporters, but man, it's still good. I think Trump's tracking to lose. I really, really do. Well, I'll tell you what, there is something to come. And with the constraint of Joe Biden, they're screaming now that it's going to be Trumpism. Trumpism, they say. I think you all need to realize that Donald Trump still has a couple months in the presidency. And this is a tweet that I had before from Josh Rogan. Hearing from multiple administration sources that Trump might fire Defense Secretary Mark Esper as early as today, maybe CIA Director Gina Haspel, probably, he says, some officials say FBI Director Chris Wray was also on the list, but other officials say Wray has been taken off the list and is now expected to stay. You know what? It's not ideal, but I think I laid out exactly why it's still if I were to go through the list, I would say Donald Trump may lose. We don't know yet. It's looking like a Trump loss. If Biden wins, I'm going to give him a shot the same I gave Trump. But trust me, I've already been through a Biden vice presidency. I'm not too confident. But sure, I'm not going to cry about it. But I tell you this, it looks like a victory for Republicans. Not the victory they wanted. On a scale of 1 to 100, it's like, Democrats were hoping to take 75% of the battlefield. Republicans were hoping to retain 75% of the battlefield or make gains. And we're fearing a loss, but it looks like Republicans are going to be at 51 to Democrats 49. A slight advantage for Democrats, making gains in the House. There's a revolt in the Democratic Party right now. Moderates are rejecting the far left. This is a huge victory for us, especially disaffected liberals. If regular, sane, moderate Democrats can get in and tell the far left to can it, the GOP holds the Senate, constraining a Joe Biden presidency. We might actually get 4 chill years where I can go back to talking about Sonic the Hedgehog, assuming COVID is over now. We'll see what happens with that. But Trumpism is the name of the game. Is it? Andrew Sullivan, the air has been cleared and democracy is working. He says, the key fact is that Donald Trump has been decisively defeated. He will be a one-term president. This was by no means inevitable. But in the massive turnout where both sides mobilized unprecedented hordes of voters, and when the GOP actually made gains in the House and did much better than expected, Trump lost. A critical mass of swing voters and moderate Republicans picked Biden over him. Our nightmare of 4 years, an unstable, malignant, delusional maniac at the center of our national life is over. Take a moment to feel that relief. Breathe. Rejoice. He's done. He will not concede. He cannot concede because he would suffer a psychic break if he did. And what we witnessed Thursday night in his drained yet still despicable rant was a picture of a sad, lost, delusional person. A man utterly unfit to hold the office he holds, lying and lying and lying. This is a case where they're trying to steal an election. They're trying to rig an election, and we can't let that happen. Perhaps Andrew Sullivan is just a bit over the top in this one. But he says, but Trumpism, it did far better than anyone expected. Down ballot, many Republicans outperformed their nominal leader. The GOP made real gains in the House during a health crisis and a recession, and will probably hold the Senate, effectively checkmating any truly progressive ambitions Biden might have had. The rural turnout was spectacular, responding perhaps to Trump's incredibly boisterous series of big rallies as the campaign came to a close. I'm not playing these stupid games, Andrew. Trumpism? You mean regular Americans saying stop? Donald Trump may end up losing this. He's certainly gotten beaten in the popular vote, and he may not have a clear shot in terms of an actual. I think Joe Biden's going to win in terms of electoral college. Trump could win through legal means as of now. Very, very slim chance for Trump at this point. They haven't called it yet. And that's why I'm like, slim chance for Trump to win. I'm not going to call it. Democrats are. But no, I'm not playing this game. The Trump supporters who voted for Trump and voted for Republicans did it because they love this country and they want this country to succeed. And there are many people who rejected Trump because of Trump's bad character. but they voted for Republicans because they want this country to succeed. I believe the American people are sick and tired of culture war issues. That includes Donald Trump. Maybe Trump didn't get elected, not just because of Trump, but because of the media. I've heard a lot of people say they were tired of the media talking about Trump. People may have voted out Trump, but voted in Republicans in the Senate because they don't like Democrats, but they just don't want the media to play this game anymore. It's not Trumpism. I'll take it from Matt Taibbi. Which is the real working class party now? Donald Trump self-immolated, but the results of Tuesday's election show seeds of a profound switch in roles for the Democratic and Republican parties. He says, in an irony he is humorously ill-equipped to appreciate, Donald Trump, by losing this week, may have gained something for the Republican Party. Republican Party bureaucracy he took such pleasure in humiliating 4 years ago, a future. Defying years of muddle-headed media analyses, Trump underperformed with white men, but made gains with every other demographic. Some 26% of his votes came from non-white Americans, the highest percentage for Republicans since 1960. The politician who became instantly famous and infamous by saying of Mexican immigrants, they're bringing in drugs, they're bringing in crime, you know it, performed stunningly well with Latinos, even flipping House seats. Exit polls, which can be unreliable, pegged his national support at 32 to 35% of the Latino vote. More tellingly were results in uncertain counties. Starr County, Texas, the county with the highest percentage of Hispanic or Latino voters, above 90%, voted for Hillary Clinton by a 60-point margin in 2016, but gave Biden just a 5-point win in 2020. Even more amazing was Trump's performance among black voters. The man whose 2016 message to black voters was very nearly a parody of long ago New York mayoral candidate Mario Procaccino's pledge that my heart is as black as yours. What? Must have found a new way to connect. Trump doubled his support with black women from 4 to 8%, upping his support from black men to 13 to 18%. Remember, this was after 4 years of near constant denunciations of Trump as not just a racist, but the leader of a literal white supremacist movement. No joke. I'm going to stop there. I don't want to go long. Matt Taibbi is correct. Andrew Sullivan is over the top. There is no Trumpism. There is no defeating Trumpism. Trump did something powerful. He gave the Republican Party a real future. I believe so. He made tremendous victories for conservatives. And if he leaves, Donald Trump will leave a powerful legacy, leaving the Republican Party as a more diverse party of the working class. I think Trump has good things to show for what he's done. And I tell you this, assuming Donald Trump doesn't win, there will come a time when the left claims that, what's the joke? How many years until the Democrats are saying, did you see Donald Trump's latest video? It's so cute. Oh, remember when they were giving George W. Bush, Ellen's giving him candy and they're all giggling. Hee hee, George W. Bush. That's right. Iraq and Afghanistan. I remember that. But please tell me more about how much you really care. I think Donald Trump will leave behind a tremendous legacy. I don't think it's Trumpism. I think it's working class people rejecting what the establishment has to offer. And Joe Biden is the politician of Wall Street, the billionaires, multinational interests, multinational billion-dollar corporations, and the managerial elite. A party switch, as it were. In a certain respect. We'll see how it plays out in 2024. Trump's not out yet, but it's not looking good. At any rate, the Democrats seem to be in disarray. So I'll leave it there. And there's much more to come. The next video is coming up at 6 p.m. over at youtube.com/TimCastNews. It is a different channel. Thanks for hanging out. And I will see you all then.